in terms of specifying what a war crime is and how a country can be found guilty of committing them. And of course, in this case, we're looking specifically at Russia. But we've talked about the issue before when we've seen these types of situations in war.
Correct, Angie. So in the aftermath of the Second World War and the horrors that were witnessed and discovered in real time, and then in the post-war era, the Geneva Conventions and the laws of war have evolved to be very specific about what are appropriate targets in a wartime, and civilian locations, hospitals, orphanages, theaters, as we've seen, that have been attacked. The murder, the summary execution of civilians, all of these things are prohibited under the laws of war as non-military targets. And so those aspects of what we're seeing, at least in my eyes, as an international lawyer who's studied international criminal law, are clear violations of the law of war. And I think it's going to be a question mark of command and control, which is another aspect of international criminal law, or how high up in the chain of command do these atrocities and these violations go, and who can be held responsible.
Right.
I think the fact that it's a war of aggression, the fact that there is no pretext, it's not a war of self-defense as international law allows for, but instead a prohibited type war of aggression layers on another key aspect.
And what about the role then of the international community, other countries? Because again, you're looking at war crimes against Russia, but then there's also the focus on the individual Vladimir Putin.
Well, that's exactly right, Angie. I think that's probably the big question on everybody's mind. I think in terms of who could be held responsible.
Right.
I think at the top of the command structure, I don't think there's any doubt of who is ultimately calling the shots. And so, as we've seen in past war crimes tribunals, when we saw Slobodan Milosevic tried at The Hague for war crimes during the Bosnia-Serbia conflict, we've seen other leaders like Charles Taylor in Liberia. So certainly Vladimir Putin it will be a target of these investigations, and his role in these atrocities as the ultimate leader of the Russian military. What'll be difficult to say is how and when and if you could ever gain custody or control or put him in the dock, as was seen with Slobodan Milosevic and some of the other key leaders in that conflict. So I think as a global leader, Vladimir Putin is certainly now a pariah and should be. The question remains whether accountability will ever be able to be achieved through international justice.
And this will be an extremely long process through the courts,
Certainly.
indeed. Chris, good to have you to break it all down for us. Chris Burkett.